Welcome to On the Fence, the show that's about helping you decide whether or not to spend your hard-earned money on the biggest and possibly best releases in bite-sized form. One tasty mouthful coming right to your face. Nick, today we are discussing, but we're not, we're discussing Oddworld Soulstorm.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Always. Hans, what is Oddworld Soulstorm?
Soulstorm is a sequel to the 2014 game New and Tasty, but kind of a reboot of the kind of Abe's Exodus game from like the 90s. It seems like they've kind of soft rebooted the franchise. Gameplay wise, it kind of boils down to a stealth platformer puzzle solver. This weird mishmash of genres just kind of bunched together until they stick. And it's weird because it's kind of a good and bad thing, this kind of gameplay side of it. So there are times where levels will be very much purely stealth, and that works really well. You can sneak about, you can take out and then incapacitate enemies, you can hide from sniper fire, stuff like that. Then there's a more of a platforming sections where it is kind of like, you know, like those mad dash sections in games where you have to run from collapsing platforms, you have motor fire raining down on you. Those are very solid too. Then there is the kind of puzzle solving elements, which again are really, really solid. The problem is whenever they try and do all these things at once, and they kind of contradict each other. So one example is at one point you have to run across this kind of desert stage while there's motor fire and snipers and enemies on the same level as you. You can't go stealthy because their motor fire would take you out. You can't really do the puzzle solving idea of taking over people or laying mines and stuff like that, or using the equipment that's given to you, because either the enemies will see you or you'll be hit by sniper fire. Whenever it kind of sticks to one sort of genre, it's very good. It's just there's a clash of cultures whenever they then try and merge those genres together. So the story of Soulstorm is Abe has just kind of freed his people from the previous game and is very much forced into the role as this kind of religious leader, although he very much does not want to be. But it's kind of cool because it kind of forces... Imagine if Mr. Bean became a cult leader. It's kind of the same vibes you kind of get from this. It's a good character arc for Abe, who has to go from being this kind of clumsy goon to actually become a leader for his people. And there's also the ancient artifact. There's kind of a good mystery around that, which it seems as if it's taking Abe over, but it's also kind of implied it might help his people. It's kind of an up in the air thing about the ancient artifact that Abe has. I would say maybe the best aspect of this would be the story of the game.
So Hans, the old Oddworld games were known for being fairly difficult back in the day, even by old PS1 game standards. Does this continue to be prevalent in this new generation of game?
Yes, 100%. I would say that, like, if you're going into this not having little knowledge or kind of an understanding of what the previous Oddworld games were, you're going to be taken back by how difficult it is. I will say, however, that they have modernized the checkpointing in this, which has kind of led to it being more, although less challenging, definitely more forgiving. More times than not, the checkpoints will kind of happen just at the start of a screen or a slate or a level or whatever you want to call them. And if you die, no problem, you go back. The enemies respawn, sure, but you can kind of go back and just do that again.
Are you as sick as you look?
The Oddworld games have always had a fair bit of charm about them, with like Abe's character and kind of the way he gets on, and the fact you can kind of fart whenever you want, which is always an A+ in my book. Does this continue on into this new game?
The charm is 100% still there, however, it is slightly schizophrenic in its tone sometimes. So the charm whenever you're in the gameplay is there. Abe is a bit clumsy at times, he kind of like falls through doors, he's almost a mute, but not quite. He does talk a bit, he definitely talks more in this than in previous games. But then you get to the cutscenes, and they play it really straight and dry, and very melodramatic, like to the point where it's maybe kind of like a bit silly. Not silly in like slapstick, but silly as in like you're taking this so seriously when you're like big gross fish looking people. It does kind of contrast or conflict a wee bit with like the slapstick humor and clumsiness of the gameplay.
Hans, if I was on the fence about Oddworld Soulstorm, what would you say to me?
I think that people who have a nostalgia for the old Abe games, the old Oddworld games, those people will be very forgiving of this and will actually really enjoy it. But I feel like this game doesn't do a lot to try and attract new fans, which is especially weird on a game that's close enough to be considered a launch game on a new console. It needs to be completely revitalized, I think, to try and get those new people on board. But old Abe fans will definitely love this game 100%. So those are my thoughts and opinions on Oddworld Soulstorm. Currently available on PC, PS4 and PS5 for £45. Also, it is, at time of recording, a part of the PS Plus games collection, but only for PS5, not for PS4. Thank you very much for joining me, Nick.
See ya.